Darkling, wake up! Carien shook Darkling's shoulders, desperate for a response. Bodies poured in from the forest, wearing thick furs and axes at the ready. Please, she begged, tears dripping down her face and onto Darkling's. She watched the arrow lodged in Darkling's chest, hoping that her hunch was right, that the arrow had missed her heart. Ugh! Ashta shook her head, spots clearing from her vision as blinding pain pulsed in her chest. Don't move. Blinking, Ashta looked up into the Princess Carien's ashen face, her caramel eyes filled with fear. What? Look out! Carien ducked, an arrow just missing her head. Ashta tried to sit up, but stopped when she noticed the quill end sticking out from her chest. She turned her head and watched in horror as one of the Tripsian soldiers was cut down by a Bebrycian berserker. Her father had found them. She had been so sure that he would be distracted by his siege of them.Trained that he would forget about his other daughter, the last living one. Carien, help me. I can't. Her voice shook as she backed up, fear widening her eyes. Look at me, Ashta hissed. Once the princess's eyes were on her, she leaned forward, gritting her teeth against the pain. I need you to be strong for the both of us. We are not safe here. But what can I do? Get me up. With shaking hands, Carien gently settled her shoulder under Ashta's armpit, and her left arm anchored on her waist. It took 2 tries before she finally had enough momentum to get both of the girls onto their feet. Now what? Ashta forced her breath through her nose, trying to work past the pain. She needed to be aware if she was to protect the princess. Carien, I need you to reach down the back of my skirt. You will feel the handle of my half-sword. She reached down and carefully pulled the sword out from Ashta's clothes. Ashta reached for the sword with her free hand just as a berserker came running towards the pair with his axe swung back. Ashta lunged forward, burying the sword deep in his chest before jerking back. Carien steadied her even as her stomach turned at the blood dripping from Darkling's sword. There's nowhere to go. We're surrounded. Ashta ignored the panic in Carien's voice and took in the small clearing. 4 of their own soldiers were already dead on the ground. The other lionesses fared better, but Menasha's arm hung uselessly as she parried against 2 enemy soldiers. Trice was nowhere to be seen. Darkling, this way! Kakar shouted as she came barreling towards the pair with her own horse. Kakar leapt off the horse, cutting down 2 berserkers before running towards the pair. We're surrounded. There's no way we will make it out alive, Kakar shouted, continuing to hold off the berserkers. Ashta watched in despair as the soldiers and lionesses were slowly being overwhelmed. The noon air was filled with screams of death and despair. There was only one way. Ashta turned to Kakar. Get the princess on your horse and get out of here. Kakar stared back at her, slowly shaking her head. I won't leave you behind, Darkling. You have to. It's the only way. Carien watched, tears spilling down her cheeks. This couldn't be how it ended. They had escaped them.Trained. They should have been able to make it back to Tripsia. A berserker ran at the trio, axe swung high. Before Ashta could shout out a warning, a spear sliced through his back and pointed out his chest, lodging him to the ground. Behind the man was Lucy with her own horse and Starson. She jumped off quickly and kneeled down beside Ashta. Help me get her on, Lucy cried, reaching under Darkling. We can't, Carien cried out, shaking from shock. Lucy swiveled her head between Carien and Kakar before taking in the arrow lodged deep into Darkling's chest. She grimaced. There was no time to cut it out. They needed to act fast or risk dying. Cover us, Kakar, she yelled, pulling out a short blade. She sawed off the end of the arrow, leaving the point lodged in. Carien pulled off her headscarf and handed it to Lucy without a word. Lucy looked up at the princess gratefully before wrapping the scarf around Darkling's chest. With the point secured, there was no worry of the other woman bleeding out.